we have to upgrade our identity. We have to choose new beliefs, and we have to reinforce those new beliefs by reframing our thoughts and being mindful with what we give our attention to and doing new behaviors over and over and over again until we create new patterns in our mind and body.
Hey, I'm Brooke Jean, therapist, recovering perfectionist, and struggling working mom on a mission to normalize normal. If you're an overwhelmed, high-achieving, and secretly anxious mama, struggling to balance it all and on the brink of burnout, you are in the right place. Here is where we talk about hard things like balancing work and family life, mental health, and how to navigate life-altering transitions. Nothing is too taboo here. In my conversations, I'll teach you how to let go of who you think you're supposed to be in order to create the life you've always wanted. Get ready to embrace your messy, shed the shoulds, and find freedom through a life unperfected. This is the Unperfected Pod.
Welcome back to the Unperfected Pod, where we normalize normal and find freedom in a life unperfected. What is up, mama? Brooke Jean here, your host. I'm so freaking happy and grateful that you're here. I'm actually on cloud 9 with gratitude today. I feel like I'm a broken record repeating myself with this, but I feel so fortunate, lucky, blessed, resonant because I am just living my life, like seeing the beauty in things, experiencing the beauty in things, loving my work, loving my family, loving my partner, like going the places I want to go, doing the things that I want to do, self-caring my days away, doing work that's meaningful to me in the world, having juicy, deep, rich conversations with women around what's possible when we take off our masks and we take off our armor and we take off our roles and responsibilities that we've over-identified with and unearth this like brilliant being that's beneath that and start to create and innovate and lead and parent and relate from that place. Like, I just feel so freaking connected to my mission around life is better unperfected right now than I've ever been. So I am lit the frick up. As you're listening to this, if you're listening to it when it releases on Monday, I am headed to Ireland for a women's retreat. I have a very good friend. Her name is Caroline. She's in the Life Mastermind with me, with Samantha Skelly. She lives in Ireland. She has like a horse farm. She's a psychologist and a breathwork facilitator who does work with horses and does retreats and breathes like people in the corporate setting on their C-suite retreats. And she's just such a juicy person. She's paired up with another gorgeous soul. Her name is Anetta. She's also in the Life Mastermind with me. They've paired up and they're hosting a transformational women's retreat in Ireland. And I'm going. And I am going to be gone for a full freaking week doing things like yoga and breath work and getting coached and connecting with women and talking about real things and doing cold plunges and doing work with horses and going on the boat to watch the sunset. Like, we are going to be treated like the queens that we are because I just know how Caroline does it. And I just can't even tell you. But I'm telling you this story because it wasn't that long ago when I was raising my first child, Camden. I would have never taken a 7-day international vacation for myself. I would have never. Number one, I didn't really have the funds to do something like that. You know, when I was starting out, when Camden was growing up, I was a single mom. I was doing the corporate thing. And as soon as I would come into some money with my corporate job, I would move us into a better living situation. Like, we started in a 1-bedroom apartment in the freaking yucky part of Denver. And Camden had the bedroom. So my bed was in the living room. And like, our neighbors would ask us for tinfoil at midnight, if that tells you what kind of neighbors I had. And so I would make more money and I would immediately move us out of that apartment into like a duplex that had a yard and had like safer neighbors. And then After that, I bought the first house that we lived in. And then it was like getting Camden's college fund set up. And then it was taking Camden to San Diego. And it was making sure he had everything he needed for soccer and for skateboarding and for his music. Like, as I would come into more and more, I was just poured into my family, which I don't regret a single step that I took. But I would have felt so much guilt spending money on myself, taking 7 days away from Camden. Like, I already had to share time with him, with his dad. I was not trying to lose any more time with him. Like, I had this narrative in my mind that like good mothers are always with their children, and good mothers do everything for their children, and good mothers spend every dime on their children. And so I would have never done something like this. And while I still put a lot of money and time and energy and effort into my children, it's one of the things I'm the most proud of. I work hard so I can provide with my husband for our family. I have no qualms taking 7 days off, literally just good luck, honey, to my husband with my daughter. Camden's in college. I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm spending the money. I'm taking the time. I'm saying no to clients. I'm not going to work, and I am going to go spoil myself rotten. I guess one of the little twinges of guilt that did come through was in my mind when I had Camden in college. I always said to him and to myself, you know what's going to be so cool is when you're 20 and I'm 40, you can be my travel buddy. And so I had this intention that like my son and I were going to be travel buddies, and we were going to like go see the world together. And it was going to be so amazing that, I had him at a young age. So my plan forever was when he graduated high school to take him to Europe. Well, that was COVID. So we couldn't go to Europe. And this trip to Ireland, my loves, is my first international trip. I've been to Hawaii, I've been to all the places in Mexico, but I have never flown across the pond. This is my first time. And I'm not taking my son with me, when that was like my dream my whole life. And I'm not taking my husband with me. I also was like, if anyone's going to Europe with me, it's going to be my family or my husband. None of y'all are coming, okay? I'm going by myself, and I'm spoiling myself rotten. And so I'm so looking forward to this. And I'm really proud of the work that I've done to become the woman who takes care of the people she loves, but takes care of herself unapologetically. Because when I take care of myself, I'm so much better as a wife, as a mom, as a helper, as a healer, as a coach, as a guide, as a boss, as a human. Do you know how refreshed I'm going to be when I come back from this trip? When I can really ground myself and regulate my nervous system and check in with my soul and be connected with beautiful women? Do you know how many ideas are going to flow through me that are going to serve my clients? Do you know how alive I'm going to feel? And when I feel alive, the best expression of me comes out and everybody around me wins. So I'm telling you this to show you that it's more than safe. It's more than okay for you to make yourself a priority, for you to tend to your vessel so that you can show up in the most alive and pure expression of who you are. Because when mama's good, the world is good. Isn't that the truth? The world is good. But I had to shed the self-sacrificing martyr identity as a mother to step into the identity I have now. And that's what I want to talk to you guys all about today is identity work. So let's get into it. Your identity, this self-image you have of yourself, whether conscious or subconscious, which means whether you're aware of it or not, drives your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors all day, every day. And one of the things that I learned this week is, so I went to Tracy Litt. If you guys have not listened to that podcast where I interviewed Tracy Litt, it was like 3 podcasts ago, please stop what you're doing and go listen to that episode. I cannot tell you how many women reached out to me and said, I've listened to it 4 times. I get the goosebumps. I cry. I take notes. Like, it is landing. Tracy Litt is extraordinary. And she is hosting a 3-day free event, a 3-day free masterclass called Conduit right now. And it's setting up for her program, Mind Magic. If you're interested in that, reach out to me because I'm an affiliate for her work and her program because I'm so obsessed with it. Anyways, in the Conduit yesterday, she was saying how our identity is formed at around 8 years old. And what's so interesting about that to me is when I tell the story of my perfectionism, like the origin story of my perfectionism, I talk about how my little sister Carly Jean was born when I was 8, and she was born with a brain tumor. She had a really rough go at life for the first like 8 years of her life, like in the hospital, chemo twice, radiation, brain surgery, burnt her optic nerve. She wasn't supposed to make it. She wasn't supposed to live. Like it was really, really scary, really, really traumatic and rough. And because my mom was going through so much, living in the hospital with Carly, my younger brother Kai was basically there with them all the time. My dad was working his ass off, trying to feverishly keep up with the medical bills. I made a very conscious decision at 8 years old that I was going to be perfect because my family had so much going on, that I was never going to add to the burden that my family was going through, that I was going to be the reason why we could be proud, or the reason that we could have relief, or the reason that we could be entertained or laugh, or just I was going to be the good girl. I was going to make things better for my family. I made that conscious decision. That's where my perfectionism started. And I tell that story specifically around me being 8 years old and deciding I was going to be perfect. And then to learn yesterday, this was the first time I'd heard about when the identity is formulated. I knew that we were building our identity basically from in utero till about 12 years old. But she was saying how the science shows that at around 8, you form your first identity. And biologically, because our brains have evolved to keep us safe, we have this thing called an ego that just wants to protect us, that just wants to keep us safe, that has us comparing ourselves to others, that has us taking in the time that we got shamed by a teacher or a coach or our parents, the time that we messed up and we made a mistake and we got in trouble, whether it was a little bit of trouble or a lot of trouble. We are starting to take in that information and create an identity around not enoughness, an identity of lack. I'm not smart enough. I'm not a good girl. I'm too much. I'm too loud. I'm not, pretty enough. And this like blew my mind that at 8, that's the age where it really glues in. And she was also saying because of our biology, the psyche and the ego, we almost all of us have an original core identity of unworthiness. I'm going to say that again because this is profound. I had a sense that this was the case because of my own struggles, and every single woman that I work with has an unworthiness wound, a core wound around I'm not enough in some way. All of us are beginning and like our forming identity was around not enoughness, unworthiness. I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm too loud, I'm too much, right? I'm not lovable, I'm not valuable. And then we live through life and life gets lifey, and there's all these reinforcements to that core identity, right? You get a C on the quiz, furthering your identity that you're not smart. You get made fun of in your classroom, further, right? You get in trouble at home for not getting straight A's. You get somebody makes fun of the way that you say something incorrectly in the neighborhood. It's like no one's doing this on purpose to you. No one is on purpose being like, let me give these precious little beings an identity of unworthiness. My parents sure as shit didn't try to do that. Nobody trying to do that. It just happens because of our ego and because of that part of us just wants to compare and size ourselves up to everyone else and keep us safe. And so we have this identity that is literally driving our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors around not enoughness. And while that is a hard and heavy pill to swallow, I want you, number one, to feel less alone. If you already know, yeah, my core belief is I'm not enough. My core belief is I'm unlovable. My core belief is nobody's going to show up for me. My core belief is I'm stupid. My core belief is I'm too much. Then you already know. But here's the good news, my loves. Number one, we can choose a new and upgraded identity, which is really not new. It's more about an unearthing of what's always been there. And number two, we are malleable beings and we can like work our way out of those thoughts that have become neural pathways and been baked into our biology and have become habitual patterns from that core wounding of unworthiness. We can unravel that and create new patterns, new thought loops, new behaviors, new habits, new ways of being. But it starts with identifying what your current identity is and deciding going forward what your identity will be. So here's how powerful your identity is. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, here's one. I don't smoke. I'm a non-smoker. I've never been a smoker. I've always hated the taste and smell of cigarettes. I tried smoking in college. I literally like barfed a couple times. I still can't stand the smell of cigarettes. Like I identify as a non-smoker. And because my identity like is so certain around the non-smoking, it's like not even a question what my thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are going to be around smoking. Like if somebody offers me a cigarette, my identity is I'm a non-smoker. So it's not even effort for me to be like, no, thank you, I don't smoke. No, thank you, I don't smoke. No, thank you, I don't smoke. So I want you to take a moment right now and think about something that's really strong and certain about you like that. Like I'm a non-smoker, or I'm someone who moves my body every day, or I'm someone who doesn't do this, right? It doesn't matter what it is. I don't do seed oils. I don't do flying on airplanes. I don't do yelling at my kids. I don't do, whatever it is. It's just something that's like, it's so sure. I don't smoke. Another thing that's core to my identity is I love to work. I have always loved to work. I've loved, and it's really not about work, it's about contribution. I have always loved to contribute. I've been working since I was 14. I have never not had a job or multiple jobs since I was 14 years old. I love working. I love contributing. I love having somewhere to go. I love bringing my best to any job that I do. I like making an impact. I like seeing it help people. I like the validation that gives me. I like the money that I make. I feel pride in that. Like I like to work. That is core to me. So not working is never an option. I'm never like, God, I can't wait till I retire. Like my husband is like counting down the days, minutes, and seconds until he can retire because he's in corporate America. I'm like, listen, I might have a mother effing client till I'm 96. Maybe it's just one or two a week, bitch, but come over and let's talk. Like I love my work. I'll be writing books. I'll be talking. Okay. I might still have this podcast in my 70s. Like your girl is never going to be done living in her mission. I love to work. You know what else I identify with is like, I'm just a fun, funny, playful person. I want things to be fun. I like to laugh. So there is no question if Brooke's going to show up, if she's going to bring that element of energy to the table. She's going to bring laughter, jokes, making fun of herself, like making things silly, dancing, singing. Like that's who I am. So if you're going to ask me to be something other than that, I can't. I physically can't, right? So think about what's core to your identity. Maybe you're a non-smoker. Maybe you plan ahead. Listen, guys, I am a planner, okay? I'm a planner. That is core to my identity, all right? Whatever it is, there's nothing that's right or wrong here. When you have something that's really core and baked in as your identity, you don't even have to think. You just take action from that place. But now that you know how powerful your identity can be, where it's just without question, I'm not smoking a cigarette, what is your core identity of unworthiness driving you to do? What is your core identity of unworthiness driving you to do? Is it driving you to seek narcissistic men that will never love you? Is it driving you to perfectionism and overachieving and overperforming for those work accolades? Is it driving perfectionism in your body and you have exercise bulimia and you're exercising 7 days a week, 2 times a day? Is it where you're so super critical of what you post on social media? Is it in the image that you're keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with the Kardashians, and you want to make sure that everything looks really nice to others? Is it where you're constantly fearing if your boss likes you? Is it where you're constantly doing the most? The birthday parties are next level. The community potluck is next level. The Christmas dinner is next level. Like, what is your core identity, which is also a wound, driving you to do? It's driving you to have thoughts of, I'm not enough. I need to do more. How can I be loved? How can I be accepted? Those thoughts are releasing hormones that feel like yuck and ick and sad and discontent and irritable. And then you're taking action from that place. And what's really shitty is that most of that is happening outside of your awareness. You're just showing up doing the most, not realizing that you're doing the most to get the validation to feed your identity of I'm not enough. Are you seeing how this all links together? And so let's have some compassion for the behaviors that we engage in to fill that void of not enoughness. Whether it is in your work or your relationships or your achieving or whatever it is, let's have some compassion. It's understandable why you do those things, babe. And what's also true is it's driving you to burnout. It's driving you to resentment. It's driving you further away from your authentic expression. It's lessening the potency of your creativity, of your parenthood, of your relationship interactions, of your creations. Because you're being somebody you're not in order to be loved and accepted. So let's start with the awareness that this is happening. Let's throw some self-compassion on that puppy, and then let's choose an identity that's more in alignment with the wholeness of who you are. So you are an energy, a soul that was born in a human body, and you were born inherently worthy. You were born inherently valuable. You didn't have to do anything to become more worthy and valuable. You were born perfect. That's the thing about perfectionism, is you're actually born perfect, and then you get further and further away from that, and then you try to double down to get back into that, and that's where we get sick. That's the part that I'm helping you heal. That's the part that I'm helping you shed. But you were born fucking brilliant, baby. You were born golden, golden to the core. You need to remember that. You were born golden to the core, and then you started this I'm not enoughness, and it started just stacking unprocessed feelings, unprocessed trauma in your body. Then here comes armor, here comes trauma response, here comes ego response, here comes protective, and now you're just guarded. Now you've just got armor and masks and performing because you're trying to prove something to someone. And so let's take that off piece by piece. Let's take off the mask. Let's take off the armor. Let's set down the sword of the protection. Let's set down the overachieving and the overdoing and the perfecting. Let's set down the things that we do to get people's attention. Let's set down the shitty relationships that we're tolerating. And what's underneath there is a brilliant, beautiful, worthy, abundant, blissful, loving, ball of golden light, baby. That's you. We just have to unearth it, okay? But your core identity is not, I'm not enough. Your core identity is, I am love, I am light, I am golden, I am pure. That's your core identity. And the good news is you get to choose that. You get to say, I am becoming the woman who loves with her heart wide open. I am becoming the woman who stands for something. I am becoming the woman who heals herself. I am becoming a woman who steps into her power. I am becoming the woman who takes fucking care of herself. I am becoming a woman who deserves to feel good. I am becoming a woman of love and light and all that is good in the world. You can make that decision today, and I want you to write that down. What is the identity? What is the identity? And then I want you to write down a baby step that you're going to take today and tomorrow and the day after that that lives into that identity. So, this higher self, your core self, your most authentic expression of who you are, I call that the CEO self. The CEO self is grounded and rooted in her enoughness. She is healed. She knows her gifts. She knows her worth. She knows that she is always held by the universe, God, whatever you believe in. She trusts herself. She trusts others. She lives in alignment with her soul's mission. She lives in alignment with her core values. She is free of the torture of her mind. She is free of the issues of her past. She doesn't fret about the future. She knows that she is right on time and she is a divine being. That version of you manages the ego, manages the perfectionism. That's a protective part, heals the inner children. She's the one that creates and relates and innovates. She's the one that drives the bus of your life. She's the one that makes the decisions. She's the one that I help you connect with, unearth, and build and strengthen in my Unstuck and Unstoppable program, in my mastermind, in my one-to-one work. If you want more support on this, get with me. But we connect to this CEO self and we decide what her identity is. And day after day, we take actions in alignment. So one of my core identities now is I deserve to feel good. Because I used to self-sabotage and eat and drink and spend every single night very excessively. And I would wake up in a shame spiral. And I decided I'm not doing this anymore. I deserve to feel good. Why am I self-harming in this way? Why am I allowing myself to wake up mildly hungover in a shame spiral? Why am I allowing myself to mess with my brain and my mental health and my body and my spirit by way of these habits that are unhealthy? No, I actually am a beautiful being made of love and light who deserves to feel good. So you bet every single day I take action in alignment with that. I wake up and I have my morning ritual. I start my day by pouring into myself. I do yoga. I do dance class. I go on mental health walks every day. I take a mid-afternoon siesta, a yoga nidra. I do time away for myself. I buy myself nice things. I eat good food. This morning I made the first pumpkin spice latte out of my Nespresso machine. I felt so loved by taking care of myself. I deserve to feel good. One of my core values is pleasure. And I was so not living in alignment with that for so long because of my identity of I'm bad. I don't deserve nice things. I don't deserve to feel good. I deserve punishment. I don't deserve love. I don't deserve pleasure. I don't deserve luxurious things. I'm bad. I'm wrong. I deserve punishment. So I punished myself. Not anymore. I am inherently good is my new identity and my new belief system. I deserve to feel good is my new identity and my new belief system. And every single day, I take baby steps in alignment with that. And this is how we build a life we fucking love. We have to upgrade our identity. We have to choose new beliefs, and we have to reinforce those new beliefs by reframing our thoughts and being mindful with what we give our attention to and doing new behaviors over and over and over again until we create new patterns in our mind and body. We have to heal the things that made us believe that we were unworthy in the first place and step into our CEO self. We have to just understand our ego is just trying to keep us safe. That's okay. Don't be at war with it, but make sure it knows that you're the boss. Same thing with your protective parts, whether it's perfectionism or the part that's taking a sledgehammer to your mental health. Love on that part. Pour love on everything. Your CEO self drives the bus though, and she has an identity of enoughness. She has an identity of enoughness. So, takeaways. Number one, our identity is formed at 8 years old, and 99.9% of us have a core identity of unworthiness, not enoughness, because our ego was trying to keep us safe. It's a biological part of being a human. You're not wrong. You're not broken. You're not sick. It's lived experience. What's also true is we get to unravel from that and step into a new identity, our CEO self, the one that knows that she's worthy, knows that she's deserving, knows that she's made of love and light, and takes bloody action in alignment with that. And this is how we expand. This is how we grow. This is how we evolve. This is how we heal. This is how we become. This is how we rise. And this is the mother effing unperfected method. Decide what your identity is and take one baby step to live in alignment with that today and tomorrow and the next day. I love you so much. Take care of yourselves and there for each other. And I'll see you same time, same place next week. And I can't wait to share with you my adventure in Ireland. I love you so much. Bye for now. Hey, Mama, if you made it to the end of this episode, I just want to virtually high five you because you've said yes to the opportunity of taking better care of yourself. And that is so meaningful and so amazing. You have no idea the ripple of goodness that's to come. If you've been enjoying the show, if you've been finding it helpful, if you've laughed a little or learned a new technique, will you do me a favor? Will you make sure that you're following the show, that you've given us a 5-star rating and left a review? That will absolutely help us get this podcast into more heads and hearts of as many mamas as possible. Because when we heal the mother, we heal the world. Also, if there's a specific episode that you've loved, will you make sure to share it with a friend? Just send them the link or share it on social media and make sure you tag me at Brooke Jean unPerfected because I absolutely love seeing that this is actually giving you the impact that you so desire and deserve. Thank you so much, mamas. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves and therefore each other.